Let's talk about choosing the right template to fit your needs. There are all sorts of different template choices down here that you can select from. And on some of the activities, there may be some that are missing. We're trying to go back through and update some of our older activities to include all the current features. But for the most part, you have basic answers. And what that is exactly what it sounds like. If you have a basic numeral or word answer, then this template's going to work perfectly fine for you. As far as the task cards go, all of the task card options are set up the same way. They have a task card that appears and then with a drop down menu. Now, with the task card, it does say type question 9 here when you click on one of these, or type question 4 or whatever, but please don't type that here. You'll want to check your quick reference guide, and the quick reference guide will tell you where you'll update that information. In this case, it's right here. So if you update your questions in this section, that's actually where you'll insert the images, or if you just want to type the text that will appear here, you'll do that. And then when that question is selected, the text from that menu that you just filled in will pop up. And if you want to use our task card templates, you can use those and then insert those images. If you're not using the templates commercially, you can just go and probably copy some images, maybe from your textbook or from a workbook, and just pop those in there as well. Next, let's talk about the multiple choice. For multiple choice, you will have a series of options that students will be able to select from the dropdown. And some of the older templates have this right next to the answer key, but Google recently put out a new feature that you can actually click on edit right from the dropdown menu. This didn't used to be possible. And because of that, it pulls up and shows students where the range of answer keys, or where the range of cells are. Since we didn't want to send that right to the answer key, what we did instead is, on more of our recent templates, we've moved that answer key up, and we're still in the process of going through and editing that on some of the older templates. But how this works is, for example, question 1, you would type in whatever your answer choices are. If you need less than this many options, simply delete the ones that you don't need. And now when students come to the drop-down menu, they can select out of those options. You still have to update your answer key though. So for example, question 1, it can't be 1 as the correct answer. We need to update that to be one of those options. And like I stated, the reason this is separate is because we don't want students to accidentally find the answer key if they click on this edit button. Right, so that's how the multiple choice functions. And numeric with label, the students can type in the answer, but they have to type in the answer and the correct label. We've added in up to 12 different labels for most of our activities, and those labels will show up for all of these. What we found is, when you need labels, you can usually use the same set of labels for all of them. Any labels that you don't need, simply delete, and they won't show up in the drop-down menu. So for example, if you need to do centimeters and centimeters squared, you could insert the superscript, or you could type it out. And now when students go to select this label, they have those options. Again, you'll have to update your answer key to match whatever the answer should be. We don't have this next to the answer key because we don't want students to click that edit button and then easily be able to see the different label options. So don't forget to update your answer and your label. The option with 2 answers is exactly that. It's pretty much our basic template, but then you have a second answer choice. The only thing that you need to make sure, if you're using the option with 2 answers, even if you don't need 2 answers, make sure you still put 2 answers there, because a blank cell on the student section and a blank cell in your answer key will mark it correct automatically. So here's an example of where this might be an issue. Let's say you're using a word and the plural word. So for this one, you have cat, And then you would be okay with the students typing in cats as well. Well, deer, that's already the plural word as well. So an easy fix for this is just copy and paste or retype that answer twice. Because that answer is now in both spots, it's checking to see if it's deer and there's no other option. Okay, so if you have two answers that are acceptable for a question, we recommend using the two answer template. Now, two answers with spaces doesn't really work great with numbers, simple numbers. The reason for that is because this template changes everything to plain text, but this one's really great for things like algebra. It's not great for words either because it eliminates all the spaces. So this is really the only feature you'd probably want to use it for, unless you have single word answers for all of your options. Here's what we mean by that. So for example, if the answer is cat, but you also want to accept the cat, this doesn't really work that great because it's eliminating the spaces. So cat and the cat, it's not going to mark the cat right. The only way you can get it to mark the cat right is if you eliminate your spaces in your answer key, which is kind of weird because then the students would be able to update that as well. However, here's where this template is good for words. If we go back to our basic template and change the answer key here, let's change this to fish. Now, if a student types in the word fish, they get marked correct. However, if a student types in the space bar by accident, which happens way more than I would ever like, but for whatever reason, the students accidentally hit the space bar before and after their answers. So this template here, the two answers, spaces don't matter, alleviates that problem. So if you are using single word answers and you have younger students, you may want to do this option, change both answers to cat. And then if students accidentally hit the space bar, they could hit it a whole bunch of times. It'll still mark it as correct. Our favorite use of this template would be things like algebra. The reason for that is because you can type in x equals 2 and 2 equals x. Just make sure that you have no spaces in your answer key, so students can type in either of those options and get it marked correct. Same thing with if they had x is less than 2 or 2 is greater than x. Both of those are the same, and we would want it to accept both of those. And we would want to accept it if students typed it like this with spaces in between. So that's the type of stuff this template is great for. And a new template that we're just rolling out now is the answer bank. And how the answer bank works is as students type in an answer, it'll automatically cross off that answer from the answer bank, even if it's wrong or it's correct. And we added in extra answers into the answer bank. If you don't need the extras, you can just delete them. And all you have to do is edit these right here. So let's say one of your choices is fish, cat, dog. You can update that right here. And then when students use that option, it gets crossed off the list. Like I said, if you don't need all of the options, just delete any that you don't need. And if you're deleting, for example, a whole column of them because you don't need them, what you could always do to make it appear and look better, all you do is go up to merge and merge horizontally. The functionality will stay there, and then we can shrink these down a little bit as well. All right, so that's pretty much it for choosing the right template. You need to decide what template's going to work best for you, and different scenarios will require you to use different templates. Find which one's your favorite, but don't hesitate to try out some different templates because they may suit your needs for a particular subject that you're teaching.